Good morning. Kate here, bringing you this week's Monday Mission. And this one is for all my perfectionists, my fellow perfectionists out there, I should say. I do like to kind of consider myself a recovering perfectionist, but it always still pops up. So, perfectionists are those of us that feel like everything we do has to be absolutely perfect. And a lot of times, if it's not, we won't even try it or we give up, right? Um, it's a kind of constant need for that external validation, right? We're outsourcing our validation and our worth on achievements and impressing others or, um, degrees or, those outside um, validations and just ways of making us feel worthy, right? That's where perfectionism comes in. And it's different than just, striving for a goal and wanting to reach that goal, right? Perfectionism can be where it impacts your functioning, right? Like I kind of mentioned, it may keep you from trying something because you're afraid it won't be perfect. So you just are not going to do it at all. So there are a lot of implications for perfectionist tendencies. It can really impact your life, not in a healthy way. So I had done a post recently about putting out B minus work. And it was actually coming from our topic of overwhelm, this idea of B minus work, which I had heard from Jody Moore coaching. It's the first time I had heard about it. And when I heard about it, I about fell to the floor. It's like, because the idea is that we need to be comfortable with putting out B minus work into the world. And that was just unacceptable to me when I first heard the concept. And then when I understood it and I really applied it and I really processed it, I was like, yeah, totally, right? So what she's getting at and what the concept of B minus work is, and I'm going to tie it into gold Olympic medals here. So B minus work is, again, just getting comfortable with not putting out something that's completely perfect, right? It does not have to be totally perfect. You just do it anyway, right? Like action creates skill and competency. And if we're keeping ourselves from taking action because we don't have A plus work yet, then we're keeping ourselves from becoming better at the very thing we want to be perfect at to begin with, right? So I was just listening to a podcast. It's one of my new favorite podcasts called The Happiness Lab. And it's Dr. Laurie Santos. She actually teaches a class at Harvard? Yale. Harvard. I'm not sure. Harvard or Yale. I can't remember. But obviously a very prestigious Ivy League school where she actually teaches a class on happiness. And she bases her podcast off of some of the lessons that she teaches her class. It's one of the most enrolled in classes that they have. It's extremely popular. And so the podcast is really great. In one of the podcasts, she was talking about this sort of silver medalist syndrome. And what it is, it's this idea, and actually it has been supported in the research, that silver medalists are actually the most unhappy after the Olympics are completed and they win their medal, right? And we're probably all thinking, how is that possible? You just won a silver medal in the Olympics. And it's true that research has shown they are the least happy, the least proud. They don't feel accomplished. It can actually lead to some pretty significant mental health issues um, because of this silver medal syndrome. And it very much goes in line with the B minus work, right? So the idea, what the research showed is that silver medalists are comparing themselves to the gold medal winners, right? So it may be, oh my God, if I had just gotten one more point, if I had just done it 1 second faster, right? So that comparison is to this perfection, this gold medal, where they feel obviously that they didn't live up, that they didn't, they'd worked so hard and they didn't accomplish their goal. They didn't meet the standard. They didn't meet the expectation. But the bronze medalists, compare themselves to the people that didn't win at all, right? They're just happy they got here. They're like, we worked really hard. We got on the podium. One more second and I wouldn't have won. One less point and I wouldn't have even won a medal, right? So they're comparing to the people that didn't even win at all. So they're like, this is awesome, right? So, and obviously the gold medalists are the happiest. But this silver medal syndrome is very similar to the concept of B- work, right? It's that comparison, that we do to ourselves, to the A plus, to the gold medal, that either leaves us feeling defeated and inadequate, or keeps us from not even doing it in the first place, right? Could you imagine if the silver or bronze medalists said, well, I'm not even going to try to go to the Olympics because there's no way I can get gold, right? That's just not, I'm not going to be able to meet perfection. So there's no point in even trying, right? So you can see how it can really, really limit us. So this is our mission, should you choose to accept it, is actually to not compare yourself to anyone but yourself. And the reason why is because the you now is light years beyond the you 10, 20 years ago, right? You have overcome so much in your life. You have handled so many hurdles in your life. And if you only compare yourself to who you were yesterday, you're always going to feel like the bronze medalist, right? Like when I think about the person that I was, my gosh, even 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I have grown so much. And I've actually learned to validate myself from within and not reaching for those outside sources of validation anymore. And there are just a million other ways that I have grown as a human being. But if you are constantly comparing yourself to someone else, if you're constantly striving for that A plus, you're continuously putting the gold medal as your standard and then inevitably falling short of that and beating yourself up for it, you are not going to find that inner peace and that sense of happiness and contentment with who you are, right? But if you're comparing yourself to who you were yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, 10 years ago, you're always going to feel like the bronze medalist, right? You're always going to be proud and feel accomplished and like you can do anything. Okay, so that's our mission. We are going to compare ourselves to the person we were to who we were yesterday, and we're going to be happy like those bronze medalists. All right, so as always, let me know how this lands for you, how you can relate it to your life, and we'll talk soon. Have a great day.